Are you a student, mentor, or parent that loves robotics?
Then you're in the right place.
Up-to-date info on all things robotics. This
is the Robozone podcast
with your host, Pete Ekman. The Robozone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world.
Hello and welcome to the 37th episode of the Robozone podcast. This podcast is for Tuesday, October 31st. Happy Halloween. In this episode, we talk to the EngiNerds once again. We talk to the FridgeBots and we talk to the BlitzCreek out of Midland. So get ready, get your favorite drink, get some popcorn, and let's get to the episode.
Hi, this is Pete Ekman with the Robozone podcast. This is the 37th episode of the Robozone podcast. Tonight, I have a host of people. We're going to catch up on some events that have been going on here in the state of Michigan. We're going to find out from our mentors what events they're going with their teams for this coming FRC season. And finally, one of my favorite subjects and one that I've told everyone that we're going to do, and that's team communications with Slack. And I know that Clinton Bollinger is ready to go for that. So with us tonight, first we have Lynn. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lynn McClymont. I'm a mentor with BlitzCreek up here in Midland, Michigan, and I'm also the event coordinator for the Great Lakes Bay region.
Nice. Scott, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Scott Stapp from Team FridgeBot, 5084 out of Corona, Michigan.
Finally, or not finally, but we have the duo. We have Brandy.
Hi, I'm Brandy Bollinger, and I am the PR and team organization mentor for Team 2337 out of Grand Blanc, Michigan.
And
I'm Clint.
Yeah, last but not least, we got Clinton.
I'm Clint Bollinger. I am with Team 2337 as well. Field coach, oversee the robotics portion, or the robot portion of our team. And then also co-head mentor with Brandy. So
the last couple episodes we've had for the Robozone podcast were with Clinton and Brandy, seminars that you guys gave at Kettering Kickoff there in September. Where there was a lot of good information. I got some really good feedback from those. So thank you guys for taping that for us and letting us use that audio. It was very informative, I thought.
That was the hope, is that people would take something away from it and apply it to their own team in their own way.
So, Lynn, let's start off with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then you're involved in an event that just happened called the Baybot Bash, correct?
Right, yeah. We run an off-season event up here at Dow High School in Midland, Michigan. There are 5 teams that host the event, and Bullet Creek, which is BlitzCreek 3770, is one of them. I'm a mentor for that team, so I'm the event coordinator for Bot Bash, and also the district competition that we do in March. But Bot Bash, this time we had 30 teams, or 30 robots, with 27 teams in attendance. So we love this. It's a great opportunity to get new drivers out there and to give new people on teams an idea of what a competition is all about.
And how did, Scott, you competed at that event, or did you help run it?
No, I was registered to go there. We've been there a couple years in the past. Loved it. We actually invited a bunch of other teams to go, and then at the last second we weren't able to make it, and Lynn was very gracious in that, and she had a waiting list of people ready to come in.
So Lynn, was this pure competition, or was it for fun, or to get other team members on robotics teams a little bit of stick time, if you that type of thing?
All of those things. We run it very similarly to a district competition, but of course the stress level is much, much lower. And if I think most teams are like us, you tend to lose a lot of your experience when your seniors graduate. So a lot of teams have all new drive teams. So it's nice to get them out competing under pressure, some pressure, find out how they do. And you can kind of get an idea of when you see your team, you can see what kids kind of start to take over those leadership positions. It's also a nice way to get new kids to see what competitions are about, that it's more than just robots, and their parents hopefully get them involved as well.
So it sounds like a great opportunity to have some, to shake the cobwebs out of people, because they have a robo hangover, as we call it, right after the season. And, these little events, I think, keep the juices flowing or something like that, right, Scott? Kind of keeps them live and going.
Oh, definitely. These are critical if you want your team to grow. over the coming build season. You want your team members to know what they are actually building for. You get them out to these events, and Baybot Bash is so open and welcoming. It's a really great event. We've loved it every time we've been there.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So, Brandy and Clinton, you guys were at U of M for an event, correct?
Yes, we were. The Alumni Mentor Network there at the University of Michigan hosted forums this year where several mentors from several different teams from around the state were invited to come and speak about areas of their expertise. And we were invited to come and give a little bit of a spin-off on our Creating Success presentation, where we gave teams information about how to develop their strategy from the ground up.
Yeah, some of the stuff that's been on the Robozone podcast, we talked about some of those components. We also talked about kind of our strategy dictates design methodology, if you will. We were able to actually, in the second portion of our presentation that we did, we were able to kind of evaluate this year's game and kind of break it down of what wins competitions, and did a little bit of analysis of the game and why, like our team chose to go the path that we went, and some of the math behind it. It's kind of hard to explain over here, but it was kind of exciting to see a couple people in the audience kind of have these aha moments of like, oh, that's why that works.
It was really cool, I think, for us to kind of travel down to the Ann Arbor area, because primarily our focus is up here in the Flint area. So getting to see some of the teams from down that way was definitely advantageous for us.
So did you guys learn anything? I know you guys, and we've had your teachings on the podcast here in the last couple of weeks. Did you guys learn anything that just caught you off guard from the teams that were down in that area?
We didn't really get an opportunity to see much of the other workshops. We were down there for our presentation, and then we had to shoot back up to Grand Blanc, actually to Davison, to do a robotics demo that day.
We were busy that day.
We drove all the way down to Ann Arbor for a 1-hour presentation, and then drove all the way back up. We spent twice as long in the car as we did presenting.
But we did look at the other presenters, and there was a lot of like very interesting presentations. I think Hot was doing one. I think it was a 2-hour presentation on their design process. It's one I would have been able to go in and listen to. But it's really cool because they covered a lot of different topics, and they allowed it so that teams could kind of split up and go to the different ones at the same time.
Yeah, and I know you guys covered a lot. I mean, we had 3 of your teachings in the past couple of weeks, so I know I personally signed up my team, and I think you guys would probably invite other people out to your clinics after kickoff here in January, correct?
Yes, the registration for our season prep workshop, which takes place on the day after kickoff at Kettering University, is open now on the EngiNerds website. You can go to team2337.com/workshop, and the tentative schedule of events as well as open registration is there now. So
yeah. And we encourage all levels of teams to come out. We encourage, I mean, especially we have a tendency to, encourage rookie teams to come out because you'll be able to leave that day with a moving chassis. But also for the veteran teams that have been around for 10 years, and they have new students on the team, and we talk about students leaving because they're seniors, and you have new freshmen coming in, and they may have never built a chassis. Well, if you got the kit of parts chassis from your kit, you can bring them out to our event. You can leave with that moving chassis. Not saying you have to use it, but actually your students get to go through that process of building it for your rookie students on your team, and then hopefully also learn a couple other things that we teach. We talk about strategy dictates design for the new game. We talk about awards. We're going to be talking this year about our scouting systems that we kind of do on our team to kind of encourage people to investigate scouting for their own teams.
So then we also take the opportunity to teach students how to properly wire things. It's not just necessarily about the mechanical components of the chassis. They learn how to use Anderson connectors. They learn how to properly strip and crimp a wire. They learn how to use a Wago tool correctly. And
using
then
zip ties to make sure it's clean and organized, that kind of stuff.
And we do not hold a coding workshop. We teach our students how to deploy default code there. So we teach them how to update their classmate computer and then deploy default code. And then I personally think like the most inspirational thing about it is seeing students see their robot move for the first time. And so often with Clinton and I hosting the rookie conference calls for the last 9 years, we hear on those calls that when your robot moves, that's when your kids get it. That's when the students on your team really understand what this program's about and when their inspiration really starts to overflow. And being able to provide teams with that on day 2 is just something that is indescribable.
And it's something that I personally can't wait to bring my rookie team, because we have a meeting on Wednesday, and I'm already ready to tell them that, listen, don't plan anything because we're going to be in clinics all day long. And I'm sure, I'm looking forward to having rolling chassis coming out of there. You know, that as a head mentor for our new rookie team, if you have a rolling chassis, you can be so much far ahead trying to teach the kids other things. It's almost... It makes my head spin how much I'm going to have to teach them in a small amount of time. So I thank you guys for putting that out for us, because as a rookie team, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
And we have spots for up to 40 teams. So there's plenty of room. And if you're over on the west side of the state or down in the south end of the state, there are workshops that provide you with the chassis build that we do. But to my knowledge, I think we're the only ones that do the strategy dates design and the other workshops that we have available on the day after kickoff.
We even have some veteran teams who make it a more or less a yearly tradition to come to our strategy dictates design only. So they stay for the morning portion, they listen to us talk about the game, and kind of like we kind of have an open forum and talk about questions that need to be answered by the game design committee and what our interpretation of the rules are, what do the rules say you can and can't do, that kind of stuff. So there's some veteran teams who just come out to just that portion and then leave in the afternoon. I was just saying, which is acceptable too. You don't have to stay for both portions. Ideally, we would love for you to stay for both portions, but it's not necessary.
However, if you're going to come for the chassis build, you do need to come for the morning session, because it takes a long time to make sure that your code is up to date. And we actually go through your kit of parts. You bring your entire kit of parts, and we take out only the parts that you need for the robot build, and we send them off to their respective areas so that it makes it a lot easier for people who are there for the first time.
So, Randy, let's dive deep a little bit into that schedule, right? So, are there multiple sessions going on at the same time, or is it A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way through that day?
So, how the general schedule works is we have teams who are staying for the chassis build arrive at beginning about 9 o'clock a.m. And then we start our strategy design session at 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock until about noon, Clinton and I talk a lot about developing your strategy using the resources that you have made available to you. We break down the game. We go through the rules. We do a lot of digging deep into the manual. During that time, all of our EngiNerds students and a lot of our mentors are going through your kits of parts, taking out what we need. We make a box for your electrical components, a box for your mechanical components, and a box for your programming components. If your team is a rookie team, we'll use your computer that comes in the kit of parts. If you're not a rookie team, you bring your computer with us. We will update LabVIEW for you, install any Windows updates that need to be done on the newer computers, on the new classmates, or whatever you get in the kit. And then you break for lunch after the strategy dictates design session. And during that time, we actually transformed the international room, the big room at the 5th floor of the Kettering University Campus Center, into a workshop where we assign 2 EngiNerds, usually a mentor and an experienced student, to your mechanical group, and 2 EngiNerds volunteers to your electrical group. And then we have a room on a separate floor where you are doing programming. So all of those 3 things are happening simultaneously in the afternoon session. And then starting about an hour later is when I do workshops on team organization and awards. So we kind of have a lot of things going on simultaneously. So what we suggest that teams do is send between 5 and 15 students and divide them up among the groups so that each student can go to kind of their area of expertise.
So you want to have that beforehand, though. as a mentor, you want to make sure you split and know before you attend that, hey, you're going to go do chassis, hey, you're going to go do electrical, and hey, you're going to go do programming, right?
Absolutely. So what we do is probably about middle of December timeframe, I will send out some emails to all the teams that are registered that has step-by-step instructions for you on what you need to do, what you need to get ready, how to divide up your team, the tools that you need to bring, and if you're a veteran team, the components that you need to take off of your robot from previous years, because it may or may not be supplied in the kit of parts.
So something like the Robo Rio every year you don't necessarily get a new Robo Rio. You have to use an older one. So we ask the veterans to bring that. Otherwise, you won't have a moving chassis by the end of the day.
So unfortunately, even with us doing the robot quick build, first doesn't give us a lot of information about what does or does not come in the kit of parts. So we have to kind of play it safe and ask teams to bring their components from last year's robots to build their chassis.
Okay, that all makes sense. Thanks for going into that in depth, guys. And anyone who's listening to this, if you're in the state of Michigan, make sure you sign up for this. It's so invaluable as a rookie team, and not only for rookie teams, but for teams of all levels. I greatly appreciate you guys putting that out there for us. I don't know how to think. I'll figure out some way. Donuts for the EngiNerds or something, or a beard trim for Clinton.
Beard trim kit. Yes.
No. Spread the information that we provide to your teams and spread it to other teams that are unable to attend our events. That's all we ask from people, is to pass it on and pay it forward to someone else.
That's what I love about the last couple of podcasts here. I wasn't able to make it to one of your training sessions recently, and Pete was able to rebroadcast those. So I've been listening intently to the classroom sessions you guys put out previously. So thank you for that, Clint and Brandy there.
We are always happy to help.
All right, so let's talk about FRC. So we're all registered teams. I'm a registered team. I'm a 7056, so we're over the 7,000 mark now. So Len, we'll start with you. Have you guys registered for your events? And if you have, where are you guys going?
We're going to Waterford and then Midland.
So local, right in your backyard, and then a little day trip, huh? And which one of those are you looking forward to most?
I think, we've been doing, we do the Midland event, and since I run it, I get a little tired of that one. So I'm looking forward to Waterford.
Gives you a little bit of break. You can actually pay attention a little bit more, right?
Yeah. Some different teams probably too.
And Scott, what two events are you scheduled for with the FridgeBots?
Well, we're signed up for Kettering 2, and due to some technical difficulties, I'm not totally signed up for my second one, but I'm hoping actually to make a little road trip out of it and go up to Sault Ste. Marie and do LSSU up there for our second one. And I've got a couple different reasons for that, but it's possible we'll still be down here for the second one.
And Clinton and Brandy, where are you guys going to go for your two events?
Our first event will be week 2 at St. Joe's over on the west side of the state. That'll be our first event. And then we'll be attending week 5 at Troy.
We'll be at Kettering as part of the planning committee this year for setting up the field and securing at week 1 this year.
Yeah, but we'll be, for our first event, it will actually be at St. Joe's.
Oh, nice. And I'm taking my team, we're going to Lansing for our first event, and then we're going out to Battle Creek for our second one. So we're going to take a little bit of a road trip. It should be a lot of fun.
I think it's phenomenal how many new events there are in the state of Michigan. I mean, obviously with the growth that we've seen over the last few years, it's grown out of necessity, the number of events that we're having. But how far spread they are over the state, offering teams all over the opportunities to compete with, teams that we honestly don't normally get to see.
We last year we went to Kettering week 2 and we went to Troy. Kettering 2 got knocked out in the semis. At Troy, we were finalists. I think it was a hard-fought battle of 3 matches or something like that.
It was crazy.
We were finalists, and then we went to Shepherd, and we semis there.
Yeah.
And then at MSC, we won the DT division. But you didn't ask us what event we're looking forward to.
Oh, what event is that?
That's Milford. Not actually either one of the events we're attending, but the Milford event looks like it's going to be an awesome event to watch. A lot of powerhouse teams there, a lot of great teams. It looks like the field is very, very deep, which is going to be exciting to be able to watch.
So that's it. Where do you know off the top of your head when that event is in Milford? I know we can all look it up later.
I think week 3.
Okay, week 3.
I think it's week 3.
It's weird that well, it's not weird, but it's Brandy. You alluded to it a little bit. I mean, we're all 4 of mentors here on 4 different teams, and we're not going to see each other. Yep. Not one of us are crossing paths, so it's awesome. And I know that Howell is not going to have an event this year. I talked to the Scott Spots. Yeah.
We usually help them out. We run the concession stand at their event, and so I contacted them. I'm like, hey, what are we doing for concessions? They're like, we're not running it, and they were all very disappointed that they couldn't run it, but there were reasons. So.
Right. I think I can understand it's hard on the team to run that and try to run a team at the same time.
It's a lot of work.
And while I see like the fact that we're all geographically pretty close, we'll probably actually see each other more often outside of First than we will inside of First. But First is such a super great community that even though we don't see each other, I feel like we still have this amazing camaraderie. You know what I mean? And it was originally Dean's envisioned dream to have every single weekend having a robotics tournament at your local high school, and it seems like Michigan is almost to that point now, and I think that it is phenomenal.
I sent Gail an email today to try to find out how many new teams got registered. I got to say we're over 500 now. I think we had 450 last year, so hopefully we're over 500.
I know we've got a new one here in Shiawassee County. We've got a second one that has said that they will do it if I can find them a mentor. So looking for mentors. If anybody knows of anybody in the New Lothrop area that would like to run their own team, we've got the setup. What was another one? Addison Schools is looking for a leader. There's a bunch of schools that are looking for people just to run the team because they just cannot get the people into school to run it. So we need.
think that that is the biggest limiting factor.
Definitely.
Well, and money wasn't. This is the last year. Thank you, Governor Snyder. If you're listening to this, I hope you listen to this podcast. But thank you, Governor Snyder, for putting the grant out there. This is the last year for the grant that I know of because we don't know if our new governor here in the state of Michigan is gonna. We hope that he or she keeps the life going with the grant program. But I just applied for it, so I'm hoping to hear that. That deadline's next week. Actually, it's November 6th. So.
Yes, November 6th and November 2nd is the first grant. The end of end of applications for the first grant.
Yep. I have to do my fundraising plan. That's the last piece I have to do, and that one's in too. So, yeah, hard to pass up 10 grand, right? I'd love to have 10 grand to start my kind.
I'm looking at my notes here. Looks like North Central High School in Powers is looking for a coach. Lamphere High School in Madison Heights is looking for a coach. And like I said, Addison Schools High School is looking for a coach. So if anybody knows of anybody in those areas, we need somebody in there in the next day.
And I'm sure between Brandy, Clinton, and all of the rest of us mentors, we can help out, educate those mentors and get them up to speed, or sign them up for Brandy and Clinton's, clinic in January.
And we host the rookie conference calls starting usually in November. It's a once a week thing where we walk through week by week what your tentative list of tasks should be for that week for your team organization and robot build both. Scott, you were on those when you were a rookie, right?
Yes, I love those. We look forward to them every week.
And I'll get the information from you, Brandy, so I can call into those starting next week.
They haven't started quite yet. Usually we wait till about mid-late November to get them started.
Oh, no worries. You said November, so I'm writing it down to make sure that I email you and get it.
Late November, early December. Like I said, it really depends. on how many contacts we have and all that kind of stuff, and how many people are signed up. And sometimes we gotta go around and contact a bunch of people to get them on. There's no point to do it for one team and other teams miss it. So.
And one of the great things about it too is we were actually rookies in Michigan in 2008, the first year that the rookie conference calls ever happened. So we were on as a rookie. Then as sophomores in 2009 with the phenomenal Kyle Hughes, we started doing them as the hosts. So now it's Clinton and I, along with Jason Marcassino from Team Rush, and occasionally Kyle Hughes hops on too. So you've got a great panel of people from all different levels of experience giving you ideas and inspiration for your whole entire season.
I call her the infamous Kyle Hughes. Ever since I went to one of her clinics, I called her that. She
is phenomenal.
All right, so let's talk about one last subject and we'll let you guys go, because we've been online for all half an hour already. You know, time flies when you're having fun. So, Clinton, I have a very big fascination with Slack. I use Slack at work. I started a Slack channel when I was on the Martians and More Martians. So tell me how you guys use Slack.
Slack actually has been a pretty amazing thing that not only in nonprofit organizations, but also in real life businesses that I think it's considered like one of the fastest growing companies recently, actually. But basically what Slack is, for people that don't know what it is, Slack is a private chat or communication tool that you can use for your organization. So think of it as, you know, a lot of people, even us, have tried to use Google Hangouts or, you know, Skype or Facebook Messenger and all that kind of stuff, or even text messages to communicate with our team members in real time. What Slack allows for you to do is to set up a URL that's privately dedicated to your organization. So like ours is team2337.slack.com. Now, granted, if someone was to try to go that and join it, ours is restricted, so you have to be invited to that Slack channel to be able to get access to it. So once you have that set up, you basically have a list of rooms, if you will, or channels of what they're called in Slack that you can organize in any way you see fit. So when you typically sign up for a Slack server, it's going to have general and random. Those are the two kind of default that are always in every single Slack that you create at the beginning. I highly recommend you always keep those two types of channels, if you will. And one of them is general. On our team, we switched it from being general to being 2337-team or something like that. And the reason for that was to make it at the top of the list. And the random, I think we still call it random. You need to have a random channel, because if you do not have a random channel, the cute cat pictures or the funny memes that are on the internet, they will end up in your general chat, and there's people that don't want to see those. So you put it in random. It gives a place for the random conversations to go. And so that's kind of the general overview of Slack for right now. We can go into more of it as well, but I don't know if you guys have comments.
So I started a Slack for the Martians, and we used it for events, right? I know sometimes we don't have cellular service at events, but at the events that we did, I told them to use it and kind of strategized with them about using it for a recording tool for media. So all the social media teams on both of those teams had all the pictures that the other kids were taking and posted into Slack, so they could use them right at that time to post out to social media.
Yeah. Actually, one of the biggest reasons for us moving or transitioning to Slack was actually scouting. Go figure. We try to use devices to make our scouting system better. So scouting was actually our number one reasons for starting Slack. The reason for it is it allowed for us to get a location similar to what you guys said you were using it for, is a location where students and mentors could upload pictures of robots, and we would actually follow a naming convention of saying, you know, a good example would be like if we took a picture of FRC 33, we would actually put the name of the picture FRC 33. and it would be saved onto our Slack server. And then later on, we could take for, per event, we make a channel for, say, the Troy district event. And we make a channel, and in that channel, we actually do qualitative scouting for all the matches that happen. So let's say in, match, 7, FRC 33, scored 40 KPA, right? We would note that in our scouting Slack channel, and we would actually make sure that somewhere in there it had, FRC 33, because that's our formatting. If you wanted to, if in our Slack channel you wanted to talk about, oh, I love 33, they're such a great team, you would just say 33, you wouldn't say FRC 33, because what that allows for us to do is, one of the powerful tools of Slack is there's a search function. So when we have our scouting meetings, we go into the search function and we type in FRC 33, and it brings up every single comment made about FRC 33, whether it's match 7 where they did 40 KPA, it also brings up their picture, it brings up all this information. So when we're talking about, and granted I'm saying the good things about teams, a lot of times, we also put the unfortunate events that happen to teams, if they flip over, if they lose communications and that kind of stuff. So it lets us get that qualitative data into our scouting system so that we don't ignore that and only go off of the qualitative information into our scouting system, where our scouting system before was more of a qualitative system.
Right, and one of the things we use for it at work, because I'm in software development, Clinton, is you can set up some integrations with code repositories and actually post your code to your Slack channel, as long as you have a Slack channel that's designed for it. But there's so many custom integrations that you could do with it. You could put all your social media on a Slack channel, so that if anyone uses Team 2337 or hashtags you on Twitter, it automatically puts that into that feed. And I've started to put that customization with, I think the one I have now is called frcfastteam.slack.com. So there's pretty powerful.
Yeah, so like I said, it originally started with scouting, and then we slowly transitioned into using it for our team during the season, of making our different subsections on our team, so that if a student who's working on the electrical system doesn't show up, they can kind of leave a Slack message and say, hey, I won't be there tonight, I was working on wiring the compressor in, and I just have to hook it into the PCM module, and I wasn't able to finish that, can someone take over that for me? So it would turn into that, or it turn into if our students do research on the internet, watching videos of old robots, or seeing someone's prototype that they posted on the web, we would kind of, in that YouTube channel, or not the YouTube channel, the Slack channel, post those images so the students can kind of see it, and it's this ongoing communication, real time, while they're at school and work and that kind of stuff.
One of the features that I really appreciate is the poll feature. So just simple things like, who's coming to dinner, or where do you guys want to go for dinner? Those simple things are really great for me as a team organization mentor, because I don't have to go around and be like, are you coming to dinner? Are you coming to dinner? Are you coming to dinner? I can just post it in the Slack channel, and they can either thumbs up or thumbs down whether or not they're coming, using the reaction icons. So there may or may not even be a Clint icon on the EngiNerds.
A beard. It just shows a beard with some glasses.
Probably a couple different ones.
Yeah, it's a kind of weird cat. So,
Clint, do you use the free? Because for everyone that's listening to this, Slack is free to a point, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys use the free version, or do you guys use the paid version?
So I think the thing that needs to be noted here is that we run two different programs on the EngiNerds. We have a varsity robotics team, which is our FRC team, and then a JV robotics team, which is our VEX teams. Right now, for our VEX teams, the free version is definitely more than enough.
Yeah. So we actually have like 2 Slack channels, and the reason for this was with our team, people have to make the team and everything. So it was our way to manage, who's on the team and who's not on the team. You always get the weird situation when alumni graduate, they eventually go off to coach and mentor other teams, and at that point, do you remove them? So every year we actually remove and add add new students and remove the old students that have graduated or moved on, so that our FRC channel is, for lack of a better word, secure in terms of only people on the FRC team, so that we can speak freely and we don't have to privatize every single channel, so you had to be invited to every channel. That's not the communication we wanted on the team. So that initial stage. So the Vex team, we kind of just use the free version and everything. The FRC one, we are still using the free one, but we have considered really greatly actually considering running the pay version of it. What it ends up being is about $1 a month per user if you use it in the educational market. So it's $12 a year per user. So that's something that you have to keep in consideration. However, we use it so much and believe so much in it is that we believe that that is a well-spent investment. For our team, we do have fees to be on our team. So what we would do is we would introduce that fee, the registration fee, to be part of the registration. So we would add $12 to our registration fee to be on our team. So, but like I said, you get a lot out of it. I mean, we've used it, for 3 years now? 2-3 years?
This will be our 3rd year coming up. So we've used it for 3 full Vex seasons and 2 FRC
Yeah, without
seasons.
paying for it. So definitely for teams out there, give it a try, the free version. The only thing that happens is if you start to use it too much for media, you're posting pictures and you're not deleting those pictures, your space gets used up.
Especially if you're uploading pictures from, say, like a digital EOS camera, anything like that, you're going to run out.
Or videos. That was the other cool thing that people use it for. If they're unable to attend an event or attend a meeting, the first time we shoot a volley of balls into the high boiler or something like that, we were able to share that on our Slack, and our other team members who were unable to come to that meeting or they left early or whatever, they got to experience and see that as soon as it happened. So once again, it allows for us to have this free communication, or not free communication, but this ongoing communication, continuous communication.
Yeah, and back to the integrations, Clinton, one of the things you guys could do is you could tie your Google Drive account to it, and you can offset all your media and have it backed up to your Google Drive and then delete them off the Slack. I've done that one as well. So
yeah, there's a lot of things, like I said, that it supports. But like even to the extent of, like, I think it's even made our students closer in the off season. It allows for our students, we have Slack channels for Pokemon Go, for Star Wars Destiny, a card game, for I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. I think we even have a pun channel, a shirt trading channel.
So Pete, as you know, since your daughter was on our team, and Scott, because your team does it too now, Friday is date night for the EngiNerds. So we actually have students on our team that use Slack because everyone is in it, and we really have this mentality on the EngiNerds that you don't leave anyone out. So they use Slack a lot of times to arrange bowling or to have parties at people's houses, those kind of things where students are getting together on days when we don't have robotics because they like each other and they want to be friends, and having Slack enables them to communicate with everyone so that no one feels left out because they weren't on the group text or in the group message. So Slack is really great for that as well.
The other one we had is a webcast channel as well. So we had during the season, during work hours or during school hours, people were watching the webcast, so they were making comments about something that happens on one of the webcasts. So we actually made a separate channel. So then, a lot of times what we'll have on weekends that events are happening, if we're not at an event or not at a meeting, people will be watching the webcast and say, "Oh, did you see what happened in match 35 at the Los Angeles regional," or something like that. So the channels are great because you can really customize it to whatever you need. The last one that we actually do, and we connect, we have an announcement channel, and we connect that to our Google Calendar. So anytime that we have an event, we typically will make a reminder the day before. That goes in our announcement channel. It'll pop up. Anytime Brandy or someone adds an event to the calendar, it'll kind of make an announcement saying, "Hey, this was added." So if we add, the Troy event in March, as soon as we add it to the calendar, it lets everyone know, "Hey, in March we're going to Troy." And then if Brandy was to update or change the date or time of something, once again it reposts again saying, "Hey, this time was changed." So our announcement channel is very, very good for us being able to have that communication and interacting with our Google Calendar.
It's an awesome. And one other thing I just want to let everyone know, you can use Slack on anything. You can use it on your laptop. You can use it, there's a laptop version. You can use it on your tablet. You can use it on your phone. I mean, so whatever device you're using, whether you're at home, whether you're mobile, whether you have an iPad sitting on, and you're in bed reading a magazine, you can use it on any device. It's awesome.
Yeah, so we have students who have data plans and, smartphones that they use Slack. We have other ones who only get Wi-Fi access, which is still, fortunate that whenever they come to our meetings, they can get on Slack, or if they're at home, they just can't do it mobily. And actually, the really cool thing about our students now is our students, our school district went to a one-to-one system for computers. Basically, each one of our students, I think it's 5th to 12th grade, have a Chromebook. So if you attend Grand Blanc Community Schools, you get a Chromebook. So every single one of our students have a Chromebook, meaning they have access to our Slack. They can open it in our browser. They can post things. They can communicate. They can talk about their ideas and concepts, or sketch things, on a piece of paper, snap it with their phone or something, and post it. It's amazing. It's really changed the way that we communicate, even at events. There's times that we even use Slack for robot rescue, if you will. We'll send a message out to the Slack and say, hey, we need people in pit number XYZ because they have a Robo-Rio that's not working and they keep having communication issues. Let's get out there and fix it. A lot of times, if someone needs that help, I mean, there are times that sometimes it's self-interest, because they're going to be in a match with us. And so we try to, help improve their climber so that in the next match they're going to climb. We did that actually at Shepherd. There was a team we saw that we were going to play with them 2 matches away, and they didn't have a climber. They didn't climb once at that event. And we try to go over there, help them improve their climber. I think we were able to get them to climb in their match right before ours. And then when they were in the match with us, they also climbed. So we even used it from that strategic standpoint and communication at events to try to get things done.
Man, we need to get them on as a sponsor. I'm just saying. We're doing a huge benefit to Slack. So.
I mean, it is blown up in the FRC community. I've heard of so many teams getting on board and using it, because I've never heard one person that uses Slack say, yeah, we tried it and it just didn't work for our team. I think the biggest thing to say to people is, honestly, make sure you have your random chat. It sounds so weird. If you don't have your random chat, you won't get people using it all the time. And be okay with them talking about really strange things that you're like, why are you guys talking about this? This has nothing to do with it. It's okay. They're at least talking and using the tool and using that communication, which is a good thing. Don't try to stifle that. And like I said, if it gets too big, we make another channel. The great thing for mentors who are like, listen, I don't got time for cute cats, okay? They can actually choose to leave that channel or shut off notifications for that channel specifically, so that they don't get those dings and notifications. The other thing is, there's a timer on it. I think it's default set to 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, it shuts off all notifications, so you don't go get those at night. Through the middle of the night, people are sending text messages and that kind of stuff and notifying you. But if you're a late night person like me, I think I bumped mine to midnight. So I still get Slack messages up till midnight.
It keeps appearance of you. But Scott, do you guys use Slack on your team?
We don't have a lot of people on it. We don't have a team the massive size of the EngiNerds. But
there's only 30 of them.
I know. You ought to see them get an award. It's like,
Wait,
okay,
whoa.
Come on,
what if, like, the Hammerheads have 110, dude? So.
Hammerheads are the team you need to be talking about size, or even 862. Like, we're a medium-sized team, I would say. I don't think we're a large one.
I love it when we get an award. We come running through and there's people still holding their hand out. Where's the rest of the team?
Yeah, but it also means to start small. So I mean, like I said, even with a small team, do you guys find it useful?
Oh yes, because the kids don't necessarily have to answer it right away. They can come and check it later on. It's not like some of these instant notifications that pop up and scream at you. You got to do something about it. We're able to share some, pictures, and we got a programming channel, so they were throwing the code back and forth and ideas for that. So Yeah, very segregated, and yet everybody can get on there and talk to each other.
Yep.
And I feel sorry because we haven't heard from Lynn in a while. Well, I haven't asked her a question. Are you still there, Lynn?
Yes, I still am. I'm listening intently.
Are you making notes? Do you guys use
Yeah, I
Slack
am
on your
actually.
team?
Yeah, I'm learning a lot of good things here.
But do you guys use Slack?
No, we don't, but I'm definitely going to bring it up to my group. That's for sure.
Question: What do you guys currently use for your team communication? Just curious.
We just use Google Docs right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, yeah. So that's actually one thing we did start at one point. We were trying to use like live Google Docs, so you kind of see people jump in and typing in it and kind of seeing that, and then it just kind of like evolved into needing. We had a tendency to have these little like Google Hangouts where people would be, but they were all segregated and kind of like if you got invited to that hangout, it was cool, but then you had to invite someone else. And like I said, definitely give it a try if you guys can. It's. I remember I think when we first talked about it, I think Brandy was a naysayer. If I can.
I was not happy. Hey, let's try this new thing. We should set this up. And I was like, do you mean like the royal we, or do you mean we as in me? So because I'm the team organization person, naturally it was kind of one of those things. The team looked at me as the person who's going to spearhead this and learn how to do this. And I was like, Clint, I don't have the brain capacity to remember to eat lunch. How am I going to set up an entire new system for our team? And I will say that there was definitely a learning curve to learning how to establish it. And there's some quirks with inviting people to get it started.
So
don't get discouraged by that, because they do have a limit of how many people you can add per day so that you're not a spammer.
Yeah. The problem we ran into real quick is don't mass mail everyone that's ever been on your team in a mass email and invite them, because what will happen is, say you have 100 people you invite. If your return on investment of those invites isn't over 50%, they will shut off your account and consider you a spammer. So what we end up doing, I think...
And it takes like 2 weeks to get off their spammer list.
Yeah, what we end up doing, Lynn, you say you guys use Google Docs and stuff. Create a Google form where someone types in their email address to say what they want to use for Slack, and then send a request to be invited, and then have one person receive that email and then invite them at that moment in time so that they approve and accept that invite. That way, it allows for you to have that better transition.
And I will say also, just from a logistical standpoint, I think the mobile version of Slack is much easier to use than the browser version. The browser version gave me a lot of bugs when I was trying to set everything up. If you're running a Mac and you go onto the App Store and you download the Slack app for your desktop, that's also pretty easy to use. It's very similar to the mobile version. I run an Android phone, but an Apple laptop. So I do use both interfaces for that, which are slightly different, but very beneficial for our team. I will say the headaches that I went through at the beginning were definitely discouraging, but I am very glad that I didn't give up, because I think that it has definitely benefited the EngiNerds.
Yeah,
well, that's good. I definitely want to bring it up to my team, and I know some people to contact if I have questions.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we'll be more than happy to point in the right direction. The other thing is, like, for me, I currently am in 6 different Slack channels. So it's being used, quite, like I said, all over, and like I said, the more that your students, even your students using the Slack will prepare them for the real world and business eventually. Because I honestly think this, in most companies, should honestly replace internal emails. Instead of sending the email to say, hey, did you finish this? And someone replies with the email that says, yeah. You don't need that anymore with Slack. That takes care of that problem and helps your company work faster and more efficient.
Yeah, you can do project management through it. There's plugins that you can use, integrations. I even have, Lynn, I have a 3D printer here in my house, right? So I have Octoprint that's running on a Raspberry Pi. and I can monitor what my Raspberry Pi's doing from my work through Slack, because I have a Slack channel and hooked it in to Octoprint, so that when the print's running, it'll update me, it's reached to this point, it's reached to this point, it's reached to this point, so I can actually monitor that through Slack. It's pretty cool. I'm just saying. A lot you can do it. A lot.
Technology is overwhelming to you. You can use it at its very simplest, most basic. Just use it for chat, make different channels. My mom and dad figured out how to use it, and they are not technology people. So we kind of have this rule on our team that if it's technology, if Clint's dad can use it, then it's good.
Yeah. So my dad uses it. My dad posts things. He makes comments. He does reactions. So he's on it, and I think he actually finds it easier than email. Like it's easier for him to follow and respond to than email. But yeah, like if you start out, my recommendation is have a general, have an announcement, and have a random channel. Start there, and then as you see opportunities. And the best way to see opportunities is when you have a conversation that is always ongoing and very long and drawn out, reoccurring topic, then split that off and turn it into a new channel, and then tell everyone, hey, if you want to continue talking about XYZ, go to channel XYZ, and then go from there. Like I said, we have a tendency to make it for different sections, different events we go to, so that way, the information kept in the Troy event is not the same, information that's in the Kettering event, and then we archive it once we're done with the event.
And you know what? In the end, you can use it for alliance selection, because you can use Slack with the guy that's making the choice.
Yeah,
And we do.
And yeah, not saying that the EngiNerds don't do that. We actually have
saying we can avoid the person trying to find people in the audience to get the team selection.
As long as you have a cell signal.
Yeah, which is the only problem. We actually have a separate channel it's usually just a few select people and the alliance selection student that goes out there, and actually the entire conversation, or the entire alliance selection, we are communicating back and forth. Okay, this team was picked, we're thinking this team, what do you think? Or we need to look for someone that has a ground intake for gears, or we need to find someone that's really good at defense. And we're having that conversation and discussion as they're going from, whatever alliance we're on down to 8 and then back up to 1 or wherever we're at, like I said, and having that conversation so that hopefully we know the answer right away. But even then, there still takes some conversation back and forth. Our student at the championship, our scouting student section leader, he saved our tail in terms of our pick. We were communicating and we were talking like, hey, this should be the next person on our list, and we missed a whole column of teams, and he was like, I think this team is really next. And in a normal situation a couple of years ago, we would have wrote it on the dry erase board, held it up, and sometimes the way our students work is if they see that, they go, we're going to go with that because I don't know something that they know. And he was able to kind of convey, no, we need this team because they have this feature, and this feature. And those are the things we're looking for right now. And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Go. Yes. Do exactly what you were thinking. And he saved our tail.
Nice. Well, we're past the hour mark. So I'm going to let you, because we could talk all night, man. I've done so many different integrations with it. So we're going to say
that Clint was really enthusiastic about Slack, Pete.
Yeah, I knew. And I think me and Clint are going to sit down. I'll get him a beard trim, and then we can talk about Slack for 3 hours.
We'll go to the barber together.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. Each one of you, as you sign off, please tell us how we can follow your team on the internet. So we're going to start, Lynn, with you. Please introduce yourself once again and how we can follow your team.
I'm a mentor for BlitzCreek, Team 3770, and we're at creekrobotics.net.
Scott, you're up next.
Hey, this is Scott with Corona Team FridgeBot. You can find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/groups/robotics5084.
And finally, Brandy and Clinton.
I'm Brandy.
And I'm Clinton.
Bollinger, and we are the head mentors for Team 2337 in Grand Lake, Michigan. You can find us at team2337.com. You can also look us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Team 2337.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. If anyone's listening to this, if you already haven't started your Slack channel, your Slack account, you should go do that right now. I'm going to go email Slack for a sponsorship. Go ahead. Clint, you wanted to say something. I heard you.
I said, otherwise you're slacking if you don't have your Slack.
Good tagline. I'm going to go copyright that right now so they can't
It's
take
not
it.
slacking, you're slacking.
Thank you, everyone, for coming on. I'm signing off. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Pete.
Again, I'd like to thank all my interviewees for coming on the podcast once again. You have listened to the 37th episode of the Robozone podcast. You can follow us on SoundCloud and iTunes. If you are interested in being interviewed for the podcast, please reach out to us. Thanks for listening to the Robozone podcast, and we'll see you next week.
The Robozone podcast is brought to you by AndyMark.com, your robot parts experts. The Robozone podcast is brought to you by Kettering University. It's a Kettering-built world. Thanks for listening to the Robozone podcast with your host, Pete Ekman. Find us online at RobozoneTV.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.